and welcome back to the farm. This is the first morning in probably about 2 weeks where the air temperature and the feels like temperature are actually the same. It's 66 degrees right now, which is lovely. Of course, it's also 94% humidity, which is why my glasses are steaming up. But it was nice to be able to get out and get some heavy-duty work done this morning. So it's also very weird not having the chickens running around the yard. My yard feels very empty, and I'm feeling bad about this. But in the long run, it's going to be better for them, better for me, and we'll worry about next steps when we get there. The garden has been showing the signs of my neglect. As you can probably see by the path up to the shed, that is all overgrown. I'm working on the cross path today, and I hope to get that done. And I'll work on the path to the shed over the next couple of days. I was going to just mow that down, and I may yet, but I'm finding a lot more satisfaction pulling as much of it as I can. Plus, that gives extra organic matter underneath the cardboard and the compost to break down and create more. Eventually, all of this, I'm going to have to redo these paths if I want to keep up with the wood chips every couple of years, just because the wood chips are going to break down and turn into soil, which is great. We want soil. And at that point, I can turn that soil onto the gardens and put new whatever down on the paths, or plant them to living pathways, or who knows what. But it needs some kind of cover, or it ends up like that. Soil likes to be covered, and if you don't do it, it will cover itself, which is what I'm running into in a lot of these spots. The groundhog is still eluding me. I moved the cage closer to the peas, figuring that's where he's doing most of his eating, so let me just put the cage convenient to that. I didn't catch him last night, so we'll see. We'll give him a couple more days, and if not, I don't know what we'll do. But I do know what we're going to do. The other big project I'm starting today that I have been putting off for far too long is I'm going to start the fence around the garden. I have 24 8-foot tall T-posts that I'm going to place around the garden, and then we'll go over it with welded wire. And I'm going to put a lower row of chicken wire, and also put the chicken wire along the ground coming out for a foot or two to keep any digging creatures like the groundhogs from digging down under the fence to get into the garden. This is going to be a long project. It's going to take, if I can stay focused on it, it's going to take a couple of weeks. But I do have to take a break to get the chicken run set up. So, like I said, it'll be mid-August, I think, before I have the fence done, which is far too late for the garden. But like I said, I had low expectations, high hopes, but low expectations for the garden. Or maybe it's the other way around. High expectation and low hopes. Either way, I didn't expect to get a whole lot out of the garden this year, even though that's disappointing. But next year, I'll be in much better shape. I'll have my infrastructure in place, so I won't have to be spending so much time with the composting and the mulching, and I can focus on seed starts and weeding and maintaining the fence and all of that. Of course, I'm also thinking about putting the black plastic down to expand the garden for next year, which may be getting ahead of myself. But if the shed came and I wasn't looking at that black plastic all the time, I probably wouldn't be thinking about this quite so much. That's another thing I've got to do today. I've got to get in touch with the shed guys and see if I can get any kind of an ETA on when that shed is coming. All right, so that's done for this morning. This afternoon, I'll try and get the rest of that path done, and maybe on my lunch break, I'll experiment with putting the first of my T-posts in. I have a technique that I got from another YouTube channel, and I'll link it in the comments or in the notes for this episode if you want to see what he does the right way, because I'm sure I won't be doing it the right way. But because my soil is so rocky, I can't just shove a T-post in the ground and drive it in with a T-post pounder. I have to get a little crafty. So maybe we'll experiment with that on lunch, but for now I've got to get into the house. Alright, our weather has taken a turn for the worse, so I'm going to work on a quickie project here in the house until things start to clear up. So I picked up, I've been having a problem with the chickens with them filling their feeder with the pine shavings, so they can't get to the food. And that's not working. I mean, it'll be fine when they're outside and I can have the food out of the way. So there are two solutions I could come up with. I could suspend the feeder from the ceiling, which would get it up off the ground far enough that they can't get in it. Or, and this is the option I went with, I picked up at Tractor Supply these little gadgets. And this is a spout that you attach to a 5-gallon bucket. And this end goes on the outside of the bucket, and this end goes on the inside of the bucket. And this tightens it onto the bucket once you drill a hole in it. And then the chicken can just stick their head in here and get to the food. It's also good for reducing pest pressure, you know, rats and mice getting into the chicken coop to steal the food, because they can't get into it. Plus, because it's a 5-gallon bucket, I don't have to refill it as often. So it came with, it's a $30 kit, and it came with a little hole saw, which is probably fine for an application like this, but since I already had the heavy-duty hole saw that I was using to drill the holes in the shed, I'm just going to use this. thing I got for this project were these lids. They're a little expensive, but I think they're going to be worth it. What they are is they are openable 5-gallon lid tops, or 5-gallon bucket lids. And so you just stick it on. Ugh. All right, maybe not that way. Take this off. So we're just gonna stick it on. There we go. So, I don't know if you've ever tried to take the lid off of a 5-gallon bucket. They can be very hard to get off and on. In fact, you can get a special wrench to take it off easier. But if you've got to be opening this every day or every couple of days, like I will to fill this to feed the chickens, that's going to get to be a real pain in the butt. So I got these closable lids. So now all I have to do is just twist it on or twist it off. And so it's going to be really easy to get in and out of this to fill it. So I think this is going to be a much cleaner and more efficient solution to the chicken feed situation. Now let me wrestle that other lid on. So hopefully that's going to solve that problem. They were pretty happy to scratch at whatever was on the ground, but they just couldn't get at what was in that feeder. So now they can, and they can't. They won't be able to fill that up with shavings, so they shouldn't have a problem with that. I also put their water up on more bricks. I had it just on one row of bricks, but now it's up on 3. And that should keep them from getting too many shavings in the water as well. So I think we got that cracked. I do want to go in when I cut the door for them to be able to come in and out, and put just a narrow, like a 1x4 along the doorway to keep the shavings from getting pushed out the door. But that's a project for another day. Again, we're supposed to get more thunderstorms this afternoon, so rather than playing with the fence now, I want to try and get that path done as quick as I can. Because if I can get that done, then all I have to do is the path to the shed, and I'll have that project finally done. So let's see how much of this I can get done in the next 45 minutes. Done just in time. So all that's left is the beast, the path up to the shed. Oh, it's gotten humid again. We're supposed to get more thunderstorms this afternoon, so I've got everything put away for now. But it's feeling good having that much closer to being done. The skies have been threatening off and on all afternoon, but I really want to get at least test this theory. So I'm coming out, and I'm sure that will summon the rain, but we'll give it a shot. So I'm heading out to the garden, and we'll start laying out these fence posts and test and see if this strategy works. worked surprisingly well. That didn't even take 5 minutes. So I'm definitely going to be using that again. I got this tip from a YouTuber called Building with Blake. If you want to go and try and check that video out yourself. But you saw everything that I did. Granted, working with an 8-foot pole is not so great when you're 5'1", hence the step stool. But I think these are, for the most part, going to go in fairly easily. I'd like to try and do 2 or 3 a day, and I don't think that's going to be hard. My only problem at the moment is it's drizzling, and do I want to be wet? And I don't know that I want to be wet. Let's go see about putting the other corner in and see how we do there. Well, my evening camera brain fog failed me again. So, obviously, I got that other post driven in the ground, and it was rather hysterical because the step stool wouldn't stay level, and I was too short to get the post pounder all the way up onto the post. So instead I laid the post down, put the post pounder on top of it, and then put it in the hole. And that seemed to have worked pretty well. That second post was a little harder to dig the hole for than the first one. I was running into more rocks this time. And I definitely need to wear gloves because I could feel the blisters already starting. I didn't help that it's damp out, and again, I wasn't wearing gloves, so there's a lot of friction there. So that was, could you not push the camera around, please? So that was gonna cause problems, which is fine. I'll wear my gloves and all will be well. So that's it for today. I can hear thunder off in the distance, so I'm out. But I'm very pleased with that. I think there should be no problem with me doing at least 3 a day. So I can get this end done tomorrow. I can have the other end done by the weekend. And depending on what's going on the weekend, I can get some significant progress. So if I could get this done in a week, that would be amazing. I'm not going to commit to that because I'm old and I have bad joints and it's hot and rainy and I don't know what the weather's going to do this weekend. Supposedly it's supposed to be in the 70s and lovely, but I'm not counting on anything the way things have been going lately. Ladies, brought you some grass to see if you'd like something green. back to the farm. I had big plans to get a lot done today, completely forgetting that I have 2 big meetings today, one at lunch and one this evening. So I'm not going to get as much done as I'd hoped today. And when I woke up, again, it was 98% humidity. And I've got to get used to the idea that if I wake up in the morning and it's very foggy, that means it's also very humid, so it's going to be very hard to work. So I picked the coolest job I could think of today, which was weeding the path to the shed. I didn't expect to get it all done, so I'm very pleased with how that came out. Is it perfect? No, but it doesn't need to be perfect because I'm going to put a thick layer of cardboard down, and then I'll put the mulch on top, and then we will be done with the mulching. I may need to top up a couple of places, but otherwise, this project is finally finished, and I cannot wait. I'm still going to try and get those fence posts in this evening before I have to go to my second meeting. So let's get this day going and see how much we can actually accomplish. Thank you.